Hello and welcome back to my little Wednesday afternoon weaving slot. As promised, today we're going to start off talking a little bit about selvedges. Most specifically, we're going to look at controlling our selvedges on the Rigid Heddle Loom using a stick shuttle. Out of all the questions that I'm asked about weaving, I think that selvedges is the one that comes up most frequently. And there's a good reason for this. There are so many factors that can affect our selvedges. So this is a subject that we're going to come back to over and over again over the next weeks and the next months, and probably whenever somebody asks the questions, we'll refer back to it again. Our focus today is the stick shuttle, which of course is the simplest type of shuttle, and it's probably the type of shuttle that most of us use more than any other. So as you can see, I've got a simple cotton warp up here, and I'm just using a single shuttle. So let's start off with our heddle in the up shed. So we put our shuttle through, and the first thing that I'm going to point out to you is that we bring our weft yarn out of the shed at an angle. So it's not an enormous angle, maybe about 30 degrees, perhaps, I don't know. But we need to bring it out at an angle because we need to give our weft a little bit of extra space. Can you see? If I just let my weft lie relaxed in the shed and I just hold it right next to the selvedge thread there and bring it down, you can see that I've actually given it about 2 centimeters of extra space. And we need this because our perception is that our weft yarn is lying in a straight line in the shed, and in fact it isn't. It's being forced to go over one warp end and under the next, and over one and under the next. And so we need to give it this extra room to actually do the wavy line thing instead of the straight line thing. There's a name for it. It's called take up. So when you see take up referred to in a weaving draft or a pattern or a workshop or anything like that, it's referring to that extra little bit of space that our weft needs in order to travel efficiently through the warp. So that's my first pick. Now I'm simply going to bring my heddle down and place it in the shed. When I put my shuttle into the shed, I put my shuttle in with the yarn coming off the back of the shuttle. That means that when the shuttle comes out on the other side, I can simply unhook enough yarn for the next pick. Then I put my shuttle down. Don't pull your selvage out at an angle like that. That's just going to give you a loop. But you do want to hold your selvage. So I'm holding it and I'm actually pulling it very slightly towards the back roller. And now I'm just going to snug my weft up onto that selvage thread. And it's just hugging it in a sort of a really friendly but gentle hug. And now I can beat and I can change my shed again. And you can see that my selvage is lying exactly where I want it to. So from the other side, the same thing. There's my shuttle coming out of the shed. I'm going to simply hook sufficient yarn for the next pick off the shuttle. I'm holding my selvage thread in a straight line and pulling it towards the back roller and just snugging my weft up onto that selvage thread. And we beat it again. Actually, I'm sitting at an angle here so that you can see what I'm doing, and you can see that it's affecting my beat because my beat is actually more compact on my right hand side than on my left hand side. But I hope that you'll just live with that without too much criticism because if I have my loom in the proper working position, then it's very difficult for you to see what I'm actually doing here. So there's my shuttle going into the shed again. You're going to hold that selvage thread, snug it up so that it's just going to give it a hug and bring it out of the shed at an angle. Okay, there's my compensation for where I was beating it down a little bit too much. And there's my selvage looking absolutely perfect. If your angle is too great, if you're giving yourself too much of an angle when you bring your shuttle out of the shed, you will get a loop on your selvage. So if you've got a very loopy selvage, that could be one of the reasons why you're getting big loops on the selvage. If your angle is not big enough, then you will get pull-in on the selvage, as I have here. So there are a lot of factors that affect this. I think what I'd like to say most of all, though, is don't get too hung up on your selvages, because your selvage control really comes with practice and with experience. I think I would be right in saying that if we really focus on our selvages too much, if we get really, really hung up on the process of trying to control our selvages, I think that that's actually when we start to run into trouble with them. So my advice would be to remember your angle, not to pull your selvage thread out in a big loop as you snug it up, but to hold it in a straight line, slightly tensioned towards the back roller, and just get into your weaving rhythm and relax and enjoy it.